Hey, this is Ryan.
This is Travis.
Welcome to Bacon Bits,
where we talk about whatever the heck we want.
Because we're bacon, and we don't care a bit.
So today we're going to be talking about a couple of different topics. One of them is conformity, which Ryan is rather passionate about.
Hate.
And another thing is, the ethical balance between fun and cruel, which
is like a pet peeve.
Honestly, both of those, they do have They have some overlap. They have some overlap because a lot of times there's the mob mentality that goes in with being cruel. Mm-hmm. That it's fun for those people because they're all in it together, but then that person that they're attacking basically, it's and that's where the conformity comes in, is that rather than stepping up for that person, oftentimes people just join in, and it's horrible. And honestly, here's the thing: everybody's guilty of it. Like there's times where we all do it. There's times where I've done it, and Ryan works his butt off to not do it as well.
Oh, I do it still. I still do it.
We still do it. I hate
myself when I do it.
And recognizing that we do it is one of the first most important things, because it keeps us accountable for, trying to be better.
So I'm going to drop a bomb here. Hitler.
Go for it. Wow.
Yeah, there's your bomb. Kaboom. So Hitler actually took advantage of something called herd poisoning. And herd poisoning is how an individual loses their identity when found within a crowd. So in his mass rallies, when he would yell at the top of his lungs, when he would shout his promises for Germany, he would gauge these reactions from his audience, so they would do something for him that otherwise they wouldn't be able to do. So if you think
because of the crowd.
And if you think about that, when somebody's being a conformist or when they're doing something just because everybody else is doing it, is the exact same thing. It's herd poisoning, and another word for that is brainwashing. So something that I always just make sure something that I just don't want to be.
You're very aware of
this.
It's something that you try super freaking hard to not do.
I don't want to be just another statistic or another face in the crowd. I don't want to lose my identity within the numbers of people there. I want to be able to actually stand out from the crowd. Like, that's why I enjoy being so weird. When everybody walks one way, I try the other way.
He tries to walk on his hands.
I mean, I'm not that athletic, but there's a power in traveling the route less explored, because then you get all these amazing stories that everybody else doesn't have. I mean, how many times are you gonna hear about Christmas dinner in the cabin until you get bored of it? I don't know.
Well, there's also something else to be aware of, and that's the fact that conformity keeps you from growing, and conformity keeps you from really achieving potential. You don't really know of. There's no real successful people that were conformists. They were the people who broke out. They went against the grain. They decided, hey, I'm going to do something that's incredible, and it's something that I believe in. And honestly, and that doesn't have to necessarily be like going and being a Bill Gates or starting a tech company, which is the same thing as Bill Gates. It doesn't still Bill Gates. It doesn't have to be doing what's already been done. It can be something small. Breaking out of conformist patterns can be standing up for that kid that's in the lunchroom that gets picked on, or
just talking to the person that you pass by. Like, have you ever noticed this? You're just walking and you avoid eye contact with a person. Like, you make eye contact
all the time,
and they look away immediately. They can't stand it more than a split second. Why are we scared of other
people? It's ridiculous.
I don't know. It's so weird. Something that I've been doing recently is just if I see something about someone, I like their shirt, or this one time I saw a runner in their running tights where all skin and it's snowing. I was just you must be freezing. And she was just laughed. She's I am, and kept running. I felt good. I was just I can't believe people can't speak up and try and make connections with others, when all it does is it's just a simple sentence or a simple comment. I don't know why all these passing faces have to be these gray blobs or strangers that you never get to know.
It's incredible because as you're walking around, you can take the same path. There was some scientific study that my dad once told me about where you can walk in the same path, and every day you'll still see somebody new. You'll always see a new face. It's incredible. if you think about it, just how many people that we pass.
Mm.
And like Ryan said, all those passing faces, they kind of become blobs unless we decide to go out of our way to do something about it.
Yeah.
And
we are the artists in that. Like it takes, because we shouldn't live by this philosophy of, oh, I'm going to wait until that person does it for me, or like I'm not going to speak to anybody because somebody has to speak to me. We are the artists. Like it's our responsibility to mold all that clay around us, all that gray blobs. Like it can be something beautiful, and it's our initiative
Paint
that's
your dang
going
canvas.
to make that.
Paint your dang canvas.
You make your own destiny. You make your own friends. You don't wait for something to come to you. If you want it, you go and take it. And
don't go and take it necessarily.
I mean, don't be a robber, but you know what I'm talking
like a
about.
rapist or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
like
good things. Search after like those good things, the things that are gonna make you a better person, basically.
mm-hmm.
And don't wait around for, don't wait around for others to come to you. You have to be the one that it breaks out of the conformity.
And something that also really this straight up gets me mad. This is what I just don't like whenever I think about it, is whenever somebody tries to do something different, or when somebody tries to be spontaneous and like the people around them just shut it down.
Oh, getting shut down is the worst.
Yeah, like I'm like, don't, like, even if it's a bad idea, like you don't just ignore the person, or you don't just say that's bad. You interact with them, you notice them, you praise them for
Recognize
actually
their
giving
creativity.
input, and then like maybe mold it. Like maybe you have your own little spin you want to put on it. Like you don't shoot them down and make them feel terrible and regret ever doing it, and then never do it again, and then
Build
just
them up.
Yeah,
Build them up. Help them to become better.
All you're doing is creating another blob for you to pass on another day.
Unless you decide to go out of your way to actually make something of it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and like going out of your way to do good is great. Also, making sure that you're going out of your way to stop bad is also super important, because there's a lot of cruelty and just things that people say, oh, it's just for fun, just kidding. Okay, I hate that phrase, just kidding. Like right after somebody says like something super rude, it's like, just kidding. Is that supposed to take away the fact that you just insulted me, my family, like my ancestors,
my dog,
like all of them? Like I hate that phrase. That phrase, it's just a super cop out. Like there's nothing funny about being told, hey, you're fat, or hey, you're ugly. Like, oh, I'm just kidding. That doesn't fix it. That person's still gonna have that stuck in their head for like forever, because it's really, really nice to have good thoughts, but we remember the bad thoughts for freaking forever.
Yeah.
Like those things stick.
I am the worst at saying just kidding.
No, I know you are.
I always say just kidding. Something that I try and do, that I obviously fail at, is I try and make jokes that are actually like, so like instead of being like a negative connotation, it's like a positive connotation, where it's like somebody's eating a lot. Somebody's like, oh, well, slow down because you're fat. Instead of making a joke like that, negative connotation, you can make a positive joke where it's like, hey, you want to eat mine too? Ha 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 ha. Or I don't know.
I feel like that could go the wrong way too.
That was also the wrong way.
That was
I'm
a bad
terrible at examples on the spot, but like you know, you
try and put a positive spin on things.
You joke while trying to build them up, you know, like,
as opposed to being like, hey, you suck, because like the funny can be in talking about like real world experiences and laughing about it, not necessarily going and pointing fingers at somebody else though and saying you're the worst, just because
like an evil monkey in a closet.
Like an evil monkey in a closet.
Zing.
It yeah, conformity in that sense of the people who just point fingers and the people who just do what everybody else is doing, that mob mentality, the herd poisoning, it's got to stop, to be completely honest. It's the reason why there's, honestly, it's one of the biggest reasons why there's problems in the world, is because we don't stand up for the really important things. And
or we just do what we don't want to do just because everyone else is doing it.
That too.
Yeah.
And like there's so much more that brings us together than that divides us. It's much easier to focus on the things that bring us closer. Like an example of Stephen Colbert when he talked about things that make Americans American, about going back for thirds, or taking the empty light coming on in our car as a challenge to keep going until the very last drop of gas is in there, or just like, I mean, dumb things sometimes, but like also serious things about how we're all humans. We all have feelings. They all matter. It's not something that it matters like black or white, what ethnicity you are, what orientation you have, what religious background you have. None of that really matters. What matters is, are you trying to be a good person? And are you trying to be a good person to other people? Like, yeah, I mean, it's one of the most important things is how you treat others.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's fun to have fun, but you gotta know how, right? If you don't take the time to evaluate what you're actually saying or how things might actually be interpreted, you're mainly just causing problems. Like, you might be having fun with it and like your life might be going great, and that's fine. Like, it's good that you have a healthy lifestyle, but you have to take into account what other people are feeling.
Also recognize that maybe your lifestyle isn't so healthy and you need to reevaluate it, because if you're being poisonous to others, you're also poisoning yourself.
Something that really irks me is when somebody says, I don't care. Like, oh, so-and-so has this. And he's like, I don't care. It's like, well, why don't you? Like, I mean, sure, it might not matter in your life, but that doesn't mean you have to be like this emotionless
zombie.
Just zombie that doesn't feel, that doesn't empathize for that person.
And just because it doesn't matter to you doesn't mean that it doesn't matter to them.
Because I can agree, like, a lot of things don't matter. Like, what everybody thinks about you, like, doesn't really matter. But, like, you should care, like, to a certain extent what people are thinking, because if that thinking is negative, if what you're doing is causing them to feel distressed or in a negative way, that's when you should be changing your attitude, or at least thinking about how you might be going about your life and how you might be able to do it better and be more of a positive influence to those around you instead of a negative one.
So yeah, if you guys take anything away from this podcast, the thing that we want you guys to take away is just to challenge yourselves to actually try and break away from this conformist mentality. Focus on the good that you can do.
It's super fun trying to not be conformist.
It is actually a lot more fun when you try to not be. I know this has been kind of heavy, but like, it is a lot more fun to be different. It is so much more fun. Just, you know what? Actually, screw that. Screw the challenge. This is the new challenge. Be different.
Be
different. Don't be afraid
Have fun
to
with
be
being different. Like,
be okay with the fact that you
laugh
are
at
different.
Yourself. Like, it's okay. Like, don't take yourself too seriously.
Know that we're all different. Like, that's one of the biggest things. We're all just trying to do the best that we can. But you, the listener, you can focus on what makes you different and what makes you special.
And you know what? The only person that's going to be able to do that is you.
Yeah.
So, like, there's not some secret technique. Like, there's not some sort of recipe in my grandma's cookbook, because my grandma's cookbook is amazing. I don't know about your grandma's cookbook.
My grandma's cookbook is pretty dang good.
Amazing.
But I don't know if there's a recipe for that in there.
There's no recipe for that. It's all up to you. Like, seriously. And that's what's going to make you beautiful. That's what's going to make you less of a blob and more of an artisan and artist.
Yeah. So, yeah. Just to sign off, thank you guys for listening to Bacon Bits.
Make sure you shine your shoes and never grill without a shirt.